coming to you from the historic Hart Building in Marysville, California, in Studio 93, in the Tank with Fish, with your host, Bob Fischetti.
Hey, this is Fish, and of course, I hope you know who I am by now. I mean, but if you don't, I'm Fish, and this is In the Tank with Fish, and I don't even know what episode this is. I never know, but I always know who my guests are and what I really want to achieve. I feel like knowing each other is so important in our society. I even think about after COVID that. During COVID, that we kind of got separated, and so everything about me now is let's get together, let's have a barbecue, let's go do this, do that. And today, one of my favorite all-time people, Kary Hauck, is with me. Hauck, and she absolutely is a community-minded person. So we're going to be right back. Stay with us because I have a gift for Kary that she doesn't even know she's getting. 93Q Radio was an opportunity for what's called an LPFM to give the community a voice.
The big part of what's happening here is it's us. It's the community of us.
The work that Mr. Fischetti has done with us to promote public education has been absolutely groundbreaking.
They have the pulse of our community from the nonprofits to the local governments. If you want to find out what's happening in our community, get on board with 93Q.
And 93Q does so much to help our community, helps us promote our local events, as well as local businesses, and tell our story about what we do here in Yuba Sutter.
The folks that work here, they're part of our community, so they understand our needs, and that's important.
Local radio is so important. During times of emergency, they're there. We lean on them to provide information to our public.
My wife and I are glad to support 93Q. We're going to do it on a monthly basis, but I really recommend that if you want to make your community better, this is a great place to take a first step right here.
So if you can, reach deep into your pocket and give to 93Q.
93Q is a great partner for law enforcement, and they're a great partner for the Yuba Sutter area.
We're really asking people if you can give $10, $15, $20 a month, and then that enables us to continue to put small business spots on the air, nonprofits, organizations that are they're using every dollar they got just to operate, and they don't have extra money to spend on really promoting their cause. And that is why community radio, to me, I'm grateful to be part of it, and that's why it's important. All right, we're back, but I just want to mention this. My little friend, Kelly the minnow, is not here. Her cup's here, but Kelly's not. And so sometimes you're going to get me, sometimes you're going to get Kelly the minnow, and sometimes you get both of us. But today you get Kary, and I'm excited about this because we're going to talk about who Kary is. My whole idea is how do we get to know you better for who you are? Were you a riotous teenager? What
Absolutely,
kind of child?
I'm a middle child. Ask my mom.
Well, I thought about that. We could call mom and see.
You don't want to hear those stories.
No. It's like I had Chief Sachs on the air, and I was talking about family, and he mentioned that his mom watches all the time. So for Mother's Day last year, Chief brought his mom in.
Oh, I love that.
She talked about how as a little boy, he wanted to be a cop.
Really?
Yeah, it was really good. And now I kid him about it. Hey, is mom watching? Because I'll call mom. It's like, we're putting her on the air. And it's like, so did you grow up here, Kary?
I did. I grew up in Live Oak. Go Lions. So graduated Live Oak High School, and I still live in Live Oak, out in the country.
Well, you've got, I don't know how else to say this. You got that California girl thing going on.
Well, I said just the blonde hair. When you get older, I'm almost 50 now, and you start to get gray. You have to do something with that.
A little late for me. It's not happening. So no, I say that, but you got this. You're a California girl, and sometimes when we think California, we think you're supposed to have sand in your shoes and have a collection of Beach Boys albums or something, right? But you were a country girl.
I grew up on a working cattle ranch, and I was a 4-H kid. My mom was our community leader for 4-H. My dad was an ag mechanic, worked on combines and that kind of thing. So definitely grew up in the country. I mean, cattle ranch, I was out with my dad pulling calves, feeding, we'd pull calves when they were having trouble with the birthing process. We would go out and feed the cows in the morning or in the evening. I dissed the orchards in our walnut orchards. And so, yes, I grew up with dirt in my shoes, not sand.
Jeans and boots.
That's right.
Not tennis shoes. You were jeans and boots, huh?
You would more find me in shorts and flip-flops probably on that tractor, yes.
It's going to be too hot for that. I'd be like, get the jeans. So I have to tell you, the hardest job I ever had in my life was I bucked hay. And I don't care what anybody says. That is a miserable job. I don't care even when you get the technique down. So it's not like you're lugging the hay. You're moving the hay with the hooks. And it's like, but I've told people, they say, man, you bucked hay. It's not about how big you are.
No.
It's about the method, right? Yeah. And so, but I'm telling you, of all the jobs I had, I swear that was the hardest. You're out in the heat. I mean, it just...
Yes, well, my 100-year, she's going to be 100 in September, but my grandmother still lives on the ranch, and so the big barn where we kept all the hay and is on right next to her house, and so we had this little Datsun pickup, and we would load up the Datsun pickup with straw and alfalfa and go feed the cows. So definitely prefer loading a straw bale over an alfalfa bale. That's a lot lighter. I don't even know if we could do that anymore.
True. Well, then you got in the habit. You have to get in the habit of it's a flake.
Yes,
right. You don't feed them the whole thing.
Right,
a flake. Right.
You're picking out flakes. Yeah.
Yeah. I was actually foreman of a horse ranch for a while, and I loved it. I'm not a horse guy. Like I love horses. I think women love horses.
Yeah.
Men.
I used to until I took a few falls off of some horses. That kind of changed things. I like to watch them. They are beautiful creatures.
So I have to ask you, right? So you're a young girl growing up on the ranch farm, right? Learning all that stuff. Were you a country music fan back then?
No. Absolutely not.
You were different.
No,
you were a rebel.
I mean, I was a New Kids on the Block fan. I liked all the pop music and some of the rap music and all of that. Now I am. I mean, I've always liked country. I mean, I remember when Barbara Mandrell, I was country when country wasn't cool, was popular on the radio in the 80s. I loved that music. My parents listened to it. I remember the 8-tracks and all of that. But now, back then, I think you have to, grow up and figure out what's right for you. But when you're a teenager, you listen to what other teenagers listen to.
New Kids on the Block.
Oh, man, I had the biggest crush. And I'll tell you, last year, my two best friends took me to a New Kids on the Block concert. And I had floor seats, and I actually got to touch 2 of them. And it was my teenage self is so thrilled right now. Yeah, it was great.
Oh my
if
gosh.
I could have told the teenage Kary that was going to happen someday, she would have been over the moon.
Yeah, that's funny. And so I have to ask, were you a pickup girl? Did you have a pickup?
Do you want to know what my first car was?
I do. Is it a Toyota?
No, it was a baby blue Chevy Love, and it was an old parts runner truck that my dad worked, and I think at the time, I can't remember if he worked at Case or he worked at one of the big tractor companies, and it was an old parts runner truck, and he did auto body work, and he painted it baby blue in his shop, and I drove that, and that was my first vehicle.
Yeah, I can see you as a pickup girl.
Not anymore. I like the little sedans.
Oh yeah, you got that luxury thing now.
I used to, but honestly, the luxuries, the price of everything's gotten so crazy that I just won't do it. I just, when something starts to cost what, I could buy a house in the Midwest for, I'm not going to pay it. I'm sorry. I'm not paying $70,000 for a vehicle. I just won't do it.
Yeah, well, I think as you grow older, some of the image stuff just, right? And the comfort comes in. It's like I get in and go, does the air conditioner work? I live in California. I want it to be so cold I have to put a jacket on in my car when it's 110 outside. So what was high school like for Kary? What kind of high school girl were you?
Well, I actually attended college in high school.
You did?
Dual enrollment. I enjoyed high school, but I was in sports. I played tennis. I played basketball. I think I only played basketball 1 year, but I played sports, and I was very social. I mean, I just liked being social.
You had to be a cheerleader.
No.
What?
No. Definitely, that's not who I am.
Folks, I'm really shocked right now because I totally thought I was going to get to that question and Kary was going to go, oh, yeah, absolutely. Why not? Right?
No. I was never into that. And in fact, I used to be, a little bothered by the cheerleaders getting in the way of the game. I was a sports person.
So you were, yeah. Okay,
I want to watch the sports.
So I guess it's ridiculous to ask if you were homecoming queen.
Oh, heck, never even in the running. Never even in the running. Never put on a formal gown until prom. No, but my daughter did all of that. So I got to live vicariously through her. She was the cheerleader, and she was in the formals, and she was Miss Teen Yuba Sutter, and I got to see.
You were really your own person.
I was.
It's like, okay, well, maybe this is what popular, but I'm me, and I'm going to do what I like.
I was not the popular girl in high school. I was the nice girl. That's what you have your popular girls that maybe, do the things on the weekends that I didn't do. I didn't go to the high school parties. I was in college. I would go to the college. I'm telling you, I went to the college parties because the high school parties.
I have to be careful what questions I ask at this point.
But I did have friends that were a couple of years older than me, and they were in college. So I would, go to their events. I wouldn't go to my high school events. But I also was the nice girl. I hung out with the nice people.
I think every dad, that's the way they want their daughter to be. I want her to be nice, right? But you definitely had that little side of you, though, that little,
Yep.
I'm going to be me.
Yep.
I don't know how much of that you want to divulge, but
I don't.
But I can see where you're definitely intelligent, where you could critical thinking. You could think, I want that, or I think that. And you just seem like the kind of person that would stand your ground, right?
Always.
If I really believe this, I'm going to stand my ground.
Well, I loved politics back then. I still do some work in political campaign consulting. But, I first started walking. The first time I did anything political, I precinct walked for the Young Republicans in high school. So anyway, I've always been really politically minded, even in high school. I think that came from my parents and, the conversations that we'd have around news and that kind of thing. But always very interested in local and national news and politics.
Are your parents still alive?
My mom is, and she's remarried to a wonderful man. My dad passed away about 20 years ago now.
Oh.
Yeah, but my mom's still here, and she still lives in the house that I grew up in.
So, wait a minute. Your grandmother is still alive.
Yes.
And your mom's still alive.
Yes.
But the men are toast.
Yes, that's right.
I'm going to start praying for Dennis.
A long line of female blood on that side. Even my grandma's mom lived to 98.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're getting ready. Actually, Tyler Johnson, who we all know, does wonderful videography work. He just filmed a legacy piece with my grandmother and me interviewing her about her childhood. And it was the first piece like that he had done. So I'm really excited to see the final product.
He is beyond amazing. Mm-hmm. Some people, they have a talent, or they, but with Tyler, it's like a passion. Mm-hmm. And so I don't care if it's something he's never done. Mm-hmm. He's an amazing young man. I just crack up. He'll see stuff and I'll go, Tyler, how'd you think of that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He shot stuff for us here for 93Q, and it's like, he's just amazing. So.
Yeah, we have so many great talents in our community.
So now that you have graduated from high school and you were going to college, did you graduate from college?
I didn't.
So
no, it bored me. I really wanted to work. There were a few things like a couple. I always knew I wanted to be a mom. Number one, I always knew that from the time I was young. I wanted to be a mom, and I liked working. I worked 3 different jobs when I was in my late teens, early 20s. I loved working. I still do. You'll find me in the evening working. You'll find me texting at 6 a.m. working. I just really love what I do.
I'm going to go ahead and text you whenever I feel like it now.
Can. Yes.
It's like she's probably up at 3 in the morning.
Up. Well, 4 in the morning, I'm probably up.
Yeah, I get up at 4:30, but sometimes earlier. But
I try to go back to sleep.
Day. What is it? Have you always been where you like seeing a project through and you get that feeling that, gosh darn, I accomplished something? Do you
always. I think everything I touch, I love to see it come to fruition and see the fruits of my labor, whether it's a video project or building a website for someone, volunteering, all of it. I just love seeing projects come to fruition.
So I know that you have Saphire marketing, and actually I remember talking to you. You were at that other location, and the gal Didi.
Didi, huh?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm kind of remembering. Okay, I ended up talking to Kary. I don't remember what it's for, but I remember going to that office. Right?
Yes, in fact, Didi and I, we still work together. She'll be at my office today meeting with clients, so she works from her home most of the time.
So what kind of high school jobs led you to where you're at now?
You want to know my very first job? Do you remember the Beehive restaurant that was over on B Street? My very first job was when I was probably 13. And we would dress up like bumblebees, like bees. Stop. And we would stand at the corner of 9th and D and wave signs for the Beehive restaurant. But my first real job...
Okay, wait a minute. I'm trying to capture that visual.
It was me and my best friend, but the two of us would go out there, and she's the one who kind of got the gig, and then I would go with her. But we would dress up like bees. It was actually fun for, being a kid, getting paid for something.
Yeah, think, I'll wear the bee thing.
Yeah, my first job was working in fast food, Carl's Jr. here in Marysville.
Wow.
I worked, and I would work the early shift on the weekends, and I'd pick up an evening shift every now and again. But, I probably was there for about a year before I moved on. But I did all kinds of, I worked at Wilson's Leather in the mall, and,
I remember that place.
Yeah. I worked at several different places, Bell Retail, and then my first real, adult job was with the County of Yuba. In 1994, I got a job with the County of Yuba Environmental Health. And shortly after I got that job, probably 6 months in, our director came and said, the county's making cuts, but here's a job I found in the newspaper today. And he gave me the clipping and said, I'll give you a glowing recommendation. And I applied, and it was with the city of Marysville and working at the fire department.
Wow.
And so I got that job, and I went to work, and I stayed with Marysville for almost 10 years. And it was the building department was inside the fire department at that time. And so we would issue building permits and schedule building inspections. And we had firefighters that were cross-trained in building inspection. It was really a kind of a dynamic group. And so I really loved working for the city. So I worked building, and then eventually the city established a recreation department. So we got to coordinate all of the events. There used to be the Great American Celebration and Regatta on the 4th of July at Ellis Lake, and there were boat races.
I remember that, the little cardboard boat thing.
Yes, but then they had the jet boats that they would race out there that weekend. It was like a sanctioned event. And then we would light the fireworks off from there. We had the Christmas parade. We also did gymnastics, swim lessons, flag football for kids. I mean, we did all kinds of different activities. So I worked, we had the Marysville High School pool. So we had a swim at night, community swim. It was great.
I didn't even know Marysville High School had a pool.
Yes, it's beautiful and very underutilized.
Wait till I see Dr. Fall.
I know. We just filmed a welcome back video out there.
Is it indoor, outdoor?
It's outdoor.
Outdoor?
Beautiful facility.
Come on. I'm going to have to. Now my wheels are turning.
I know.
It's like, let's market something for that.
Yes. So anyway, I went to work for the city, and then cuts came about again, and I went, yeah, I'm kind of done. Every year we were at the time, it was, we were always worried about cuts, staffing cuts. So I moved on after they closed the recreation program.
So there is a side of you that if you're not careful, if a job isn't challenging you, that you get bored.
I do. That's true.
You love that challenge.
I do love a challenge. I do.
So
I love the underdog too. I've always loved the
yeah,
underdog.
I'm that way. It's really sad because I pick the underdog sometimes. It was a bad choice.
It happens. And you know what? Sometimes we're the underdog.
Yeah.
And we got to have people who believe in us, right? And who are willing to fight for us.
Exactly. What's that thing about a bug on a windshield of life? Yeah. It's like sometimes I'm the bug, sometimes I'm the windshield.
That's right.
And so what transition where you began to think about marketing and, what happened? Because you had different job experiences, but something happened where one day you went, I think I can do that. Mm-hmm.
Well, it was other people's belief in me.
That's cool.
That made me feel like I could do that. So I had had the experience with marketing the events and the programs for Marysville for the rec department. Later on in my career, I went to work for Sharman Kobayashi, was the executive director of the Yuba-Sutter United Way. And I went to work for her as her assistant. Later, I became the executive director of the United Way. So Bob Harlan has that position now.
What? Wait a minute.
You didn't know that?
No.
Oh.
You were the executive director of United Way?
Uh-huh. And I loved that job. I really loved what I love. Like you said, I'm community minded, and what better job than to help all of those organizations be successful.
I had Bob Harlan on the air early on with 93Q several times. Mm-hmm. He was doing United Way events. Mm-hmm. And I said, Bob, I think most people think every dollar that comes in goes somewhere, but they don't realize it stays here. Mm-hmm. And he began to talk about how much United Way does local things.
Yes.
It makes a difference here locally, which I thought was really good, And because you hear it, it's like I don't know if you remember, but for a while, there was a big expose on all these major nonprofits.
The overhead.
Oh my gosh, finding out where all the money went, and it was not going where it was directed.
It was jaw-dropping. Some of them, I was like, how do they sleep at night?
Yeah. Yeah, and so that's why when I met Bob, and I forget how I met him, but he was going to come on to talk about that. So when you were doing that, when you were doing the United Way, that was just you had to be challenged. There was so much involved in that.
Well, and it was a lot different than what it is now. So I ran the federal campaign, the combined federal campaign. So I would work with Beale Air Force Base, and I would go out there and work on their campaign. I worked on the statewide. So we had 3 campaigns going at the same time: the local, the state, and the federal.
Wow!
And so it was a really big 6-month push. And it was structured a little differently than it is now. So that's when I really got into fundraising and marketing. And I really loved it. And then one of my board members with the Appeal Democrat, Debbie Baggett, she was a board member with United Way, and she had approached me about coming on board with, they owned a marketing firm, the Appeal did. Called WAG Media Group.
I remember that.
Yeah, WAG the Frog, and then it turned into WAG Media Group.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember who.
Linda Plummer.
Yes, it was Linda Plummer.
Yes.
Because I met her. I actually met Linda when I was with Talk Radio. Mm-hmm. I met several people, and I remember that they'd send us things, and I didn't make that connection. Wow.
She's incredible, but she led WAG for many, many years, and then when she moved on and went to work at the hospital, they had that opening, so I went to work over there. And then many years later, there was a reorganization, and they offered me one of the sales positions at the Appeal, and they were closing the marketing firm. And I didn't want to do that. I already had clients that didn't have anywhere to go if we closed our marketing firm, so I opened my own.
So that's how that happened.
And then I still, to this day, he now has a desk in my office. One of the designers, there were 3 designers that I worked with there, but one of them, he and I have continued working together, and he has a desk in my office there in Yuba City.
That's funny.
And so
I met him.
Yeah.
Yes. I like your office in Yuba City. It cracks me up that there's a safe there.
Everybody asks me about that.
And it's like, does Saphire Marketing make that much money that you have to have your own safe? Or is it Dennis with the,
It's at one time that building was a law office, Oliveira and Oliveira.
Uh-huh.
And back before we were in the computer age, they would have to lock up there and keep in a secure place their legal files.
Yep.
And so there is a vault in our building it's a large vault that we use it for all of our office supplies and our copy machines in there. But yeah, it's kind of cool. It has a really cool door that was one of the first things Dennis did when we moved in. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk about Dennis for a minute.
Yes.
Okay. Because I just love you guys. And it's very obvious you two really love each other.
Yes.
It's a very good relationship. And although I met Dennis independently, I met him before I met you. Hanging out with you guys, you guys just get along. And so Dennis was with the PD, but I understand if I got the story right, Dennis used to do signs and that before.
Yes.
And so he's actually retired and returned to what he was doing before. And it really works good with what you do. I mean, you guys could not have planned that.
We couldn't have. And there was one time near the end of his career that he had a job opportunity to go to work for the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration, so a federal position. And he said, I don't want to travel all the time. I'll have to travel over 200 days a year. When I retire, I want to work with you. And so at that point, I said, okay, let's do it. And during COVID, I guess it was, the Small Business Administration was doing grants. And we applied for a grant for the marketing firm to buy some equipment. So that's how we got our first sign maker. We were outsourcing all of our signs. And so we were able to do it in-house after that. So
in the marketing side of it, it's sort of the logistical side. You come up with a plan, right? We're going to do this, this, and this. But I never realized how much of it is, whether you're doing stuff for a web page or doing actual physical signs. There's so much more to it than just, hey, call me up and if you got an event or whatever, which I want to touch on the events that you do, which that's interesting. That's full circle for you.
Yes, it is.
Come back and do.
It's a blessing. It's such a blessing.
Yeah. And so that really worked hand in hand. That's why, you guys couldn't even have planned that.
Really, we couldn't have. And, I think now he's been retired for a year and he's like, what'd I get myself into? Because he's busy. He's so busy. But again, what a blessing to be in the kind of economic environment that we're in and be as busy as we are.
Yeah.
We really, truly feel blessed.
So so how did you meet Dennis?
Okay.
Because I have my own story.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, you got pulled over.
That's the story of everyone we run into. Even last night we went to this new ice cream shop in town and the gal that we were talking to said, you gave me a ticket to him. And I said, man, you have no idea how much we hear that.
Oh, really?
So, yes. Again, something that working for the city of Marysville introduced us to each other. But, we were both in other relationships. We just knew each other. We just knew each other through work. I do remember the first time I ever saw him, though. I think I had been working for Marysville for about 6 months. And the fire department and police department were working on an abatement project together. And so I remember it was Vance Nabeta, who now is a retired annuitant back with Marysville Police Department, and Dennis. They walked in the front door of the fire department to meet with our people, and I remember thinking he had this coiffed hair. I don't know how else to say it. He looked like such a sweet church boy. He was wearing his yellow community-oriented policing polo and his blue shorts, and anyway. At the time, nobody I'd ever be interested in, right?
It always works that way.
Because he just seems so sweet and impressionable, and that's not what I was into at the time. And so, little did I know. But later on, we began working together a lot, putting on the community events, and developed a really good friendship, which later led to, something bigger.
That's probably the best way for that to happen. Mm-hmm. It really is, because everything's relational. Mm-hmm. I've been married 52 years, mm-hmm. and we're still working on being friends.
Oh yeah, we're the best of friends, but it's like any other marriage. It has its ups and downs, it has good days and bad days. But we do. Although we work in the same building, we're not under each other's feet. He's definitely always wrapping vehicles, putting on decals, printing signs. And there's some days that go by that I hardly see him.
I had a professor in college, and he said the best working relationship is a married couple. Mm-hmm. He said it's the hardest because they have to know how to go home and separate work mm-hmm. and home. And he said, if they can do that, and when I first had my first company, which was a fencing company, mm-hmm. I put fencing on ranches, cattle ranches, and mm-hmm. that. And my wife and I worked together, and we found out we could work together, mm-hmm. right? And which was a real plus. Now her goal now is I'm going to be home. You make the money, I spend the money. You should have known that when we got married. She said, yeah. But, that's really a good thing that you can do that. So, relationally, you don't really get to you can't write your future, mm-hmm. but you can make choices that will establish your future. Mm-hmm. And so you're being friends with Dennis was probably never realizing the whole business end of it, mm-hmm. Was probably perfect.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I couldn't ask for a better partner, somebody who's more on the same page, who wants the same things. I definitely married my best friend.
He seems really laid back, when as a police officer, the pressures, the stress of just, and then he ran the traffic division, if I remember mm-hmm. right. And so there's a lot of stuff involved in that. When he stepped away from that, I mean, did he at first was like, well, what do I do with myself? Or did he move right into just...
Never. Well, we had been building the sign business for about 2 years.
Yeah.
Year and a half, 2 years when he retired. And so let me tell you, he hasn't had a boring day yet. I mean...
I believe that. I've been in there. And it's like...
Yes. And so most of the people that he worked with that have retired and they're saying, don't do it. They were telling him before he retired, don't do it. I wish I hadn't have done it so soon. And now, he's never experienced that. Let's just say that. He's never experienced like any boredom.
No, and he seems like the kind of guy that wouldn't work for. And mm-hmm. you guys are both active. I could see where that works. So you can kind of go do things. And I mean, there's got to be times when you just go, okay, we're done.
Yes.
We're going away.
Yes.
Right? And you and I were talking a little bit about that earlier. But
we keep in contact. I mean, when you're a business owner and the business that we're in, you can't just completely unplug because people are relying on you. So I was mentioning that he's kind of a guy who likes to sleep in the morning. He stays up really late, but likes to sleep in the morning. So we'll go on vacation and I'll be up at 6 and grab my laptop and work for an hour or two before he gets out of bed so that I can communicate with our customers and, so they don't feel like we've abandoned them for a week or two.
Yeah, I get that. It's like I had somebody call me. I was up in Reno because it's my wife and I's 52nd wedding anniversary.
Nice.
We went early because of the Peach Festival, because actually our anniversary is on the 19th. So we went early, and then, of course, I'll do something for her later. We'll do together. But
take her a peach pie from the Peach Festival.
Man, I'm telling you, almost can't wait. You would think that it wouldn't be that big a deal, but Peach Festival shows up and it's like all of a sudden I know this is an old term, a hankering.
I know, right?
Hankering for peaches, right?
Our exhibitors, last week Dillon Farms came by our office and dropped off nectarines, donut peaches, clings. Just a bag of, and so I noticed that Dennis put a pretty good dent in it.
So you're full blown into Saphire now, where you do Marysville events.
12 years we've had Saphire now.
Wow. And so, I know you do the Peach Festival and then the Christmas Parade.
Yes.
And so if somebody, even from another city, approached you and said, hey, you do this, are the event things a significant portion of what you do?
Yeah, I would say so. And I love event planning. It's all in the details, really, when it comes down to it. And I like to create a plan and check items off of the checklist for that plan. And one of the biggest challenges in this environment, and you mentioned challenges. I love challenges, is raising the sponsor dollars to make sure that municipality is solvent. That yes, we're putting on a community event, but it's not. They don't have to pay for the whole thing. They have partners in it, and so raising sponsor dollars is a really important part of my job with those events.
I think part of my connection with you is really 93Q Radio is because we're a nonprofit and my whole thing is to promote the community.
Right.
And very early on, in talking with you, it's like, I was kind of like, well, I'll do whatever you want, right? Because I knew you were headed for the community. And I really do love the Peach Festival, but I really love the Christmas Parade.
I love it too.
And so the more that I've gotten around you, the more I've been able to see why that really works for you, right? And I'm thinking, so what's next? Do we do a Thanksgiving Day parade? Because
I'd love that.
Marysville is kind of known for parades.
Yes, I'd like to have a parade every month. Let's figure it out.
Well, I'd said that before, and people said, "Are you crazy?" No, I'm not crazy. Who doesn't like a parade?
Absolutely.
The Veterans Parade.
Oh, that's a great
I talked
parade.
to Cindy Burrell, and she said that thing it's becoming really more difficult for her because it's growing.
Yes.
It's more people every year. And veterans and babies. Maybe we should have a baby parade.
Oh, I'd love that. I did think about doing a little pet parade with the Peach Festival. The only problem is it's just so hot, and I have such a heart for pets that just having their little paws be hot, that just breaks my heart. So
I was at the first taco festival that they did. And they had a Chihuahua beauty contest.
Yes.
And I was like, I'm doing the announcing, doing stuff, and I'm like, a Chihuahua beauty contest? What can that be like? And then they started showing up with these Chihuahuas. I mean, the people loved it. Who would have thought?
I heard about this.
Oh my gosh, people just loved it. These little Chihuahuas had every kind of costume you can imagine on.
Oh yeah, no, I think we should do one. How people say their pets start to look like them, or they start to look like their pets. Wouldn't that be a good contest?
Dress alike.
I've got a dog that when I got her, she was brown, dark chocolate brown all around her face, and now she's completely blonde. And I'm like, my dog's turning into me.
That's funny.
But it's just funny when I look at her baby pictures. I was like, oh my gosh, you look like a totally different dog now.
So you live in Live Oak.
Yes.
So is it? Do you have a little land?
No, I actually rent in Live Oak, and I've rented that house for over 15 years now.
Wow.
I've been there a long time. My kids grew up there. My grandkids are out there now. I actually live about maybe 5 miles from where I grew up.
Wow.
I live on the very north end, and then my mom still lives out there on Broadway Road. My grandma is a Shepherd Road, and actually, when I was a teenager, my grandmother and grandfather bought a section of the Sutter Buttes that's still in the family. So we go up there. I love that. That spot has my heart.
So is there a house on it, or
no?
It's just land.
It's just land.
How did they do that? I guess it just came up for sale.
It came up for sale, and here's the irony in it. They bought it with cash, but they didn't have the extra $3,000, I think it was, to buy the mineral rights. So now there's like wells on the property. But I think there's 2 wells out there, but there's a natural spring on the property, a creek, a waterfall, and there's a rock arch at the top of the hill. It's really an outstanding.
You're going to have to rent it for wedding venues.
Oh, man. Yeah. I just love that. I mean, really, we went up there when the Northern Lights were visible.
Oh, yeah.
The second night that they were supposed to be visible, but they never actually were. We went up there to watch from up there, and there were hundreds and hundreds of people up there lining the roads. But
so how high up is it, your property?
It's right. Okay, so you know the Butte, I think they call it South Butte, the one that has all the antennas on it.
Yes.
We're literally across the street from that on Pass Road.
Good. I'm putting an antenna on your property for 93Q.
Climb up there.
Yeah, good
There's
luck
no road
with that.
to the top.
Feel free.
No, we do. We took some friends out twice this year. Dennis, I'm a little out of shape. I don't always make it to the top. I like to take the scenic route. I like to take breaks. Yeah. And they're always hard charging up to the top.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so we've taken a couple friends out there this year and then enjoy a little lunch afterwards. It's just a beautiful property.
So is there plans that possibly you would stay in California if things change? Or are you like so many going, I don't know how long I can stay here?
You know,
because I love this community. The difficulty is, I know stuff goes on in Sacramento, but this is just a great place to live.
Well, you know, I have grandbabies here now, so I have
you're stuck here.
I have twin. They just turned 3 yesterday, so twin grandbaby boys, and so I do feel like I'll always have an anchor here, but I would like to retire elsewhere. When you look at it like Dennis's retirement, how much of it is being taken away in taxes right now?
Yeah.
If we could, I know there's legislation to try and, if you retire and you were to, you lived in the state of California, retire, move somewhere else, you're still going to have to pay California your taxes. They're trying to keep your taxes even if you move out of state. It's crazy, but that's what's going on right now. But we have friends who have moved to Florida. We love Florida. We go there at least once a year, sometimes twice a year. And we've already picked the town we'd like to buy a house in. So you'll see us here and you'll see us there. Hopefully you'll come to visit us there.
My brother, I have one sibling left alive out of 7 of us. And he lives in Florida. He lives in Fort Myers.
Well, that's where we're moving just north of there.
Really?
Yes.
Oh gosh, yeah. It's really nice there. It really is.
Fort Myers is gorgeous. But I went there right after Ian and saw all the devastation.
Oh yeah.
But our friends live just north of there, and we're looking in Port Charlotte.
Oh, yeah.
Just north of there. So we want to buy a property on a canal and have a boat in our backyard and be able to go out.
Oh, that's smart.
A couple times a week. But yeah, that's the kind of retirement life we want to live.
So technically, Dennis is retired.
He is.
Okay. But you're not.
I'm not.
Because you're like 25 years younger than Dennis is going to watch this and go, oh, Fish, I'm so getting you.
5.5. We're 5.5 years apart.
Yeah. And so for you, though, because it's your own company, do you have like a retirement thing that you've established for yourself?
I put away money every year to a retirement. But honestly, the lion's share of the retirement will come from him. I put what I had put away in retirement. I gave it to him to buy back some years before he retired so he could have a bigger retirement.
Yeah. I retired at 62. I'm 73.
You haven't retired yet. I think you work harder now.
I do. It's like, I don't care what anybody says. Honestly, years ago, I was studying gerontology in college. I was 26. Now I am a geriatric, right? It's like.
It happens fast. Like, I can't believe I'm going to be 50 next year. Like, when did that happen? I can't believe I'm a grandmother. Like, what? This seems impossible.
I remember this doctor saying to me, though, he said, and he was an old guy. I bet he was 35. 40 probably. And
that's ancient.
And he said, you see all these people in here. It was at the Yountville, at the Veterans Hospital. I did my internship there.
Oh.
And I said, yeah. And he said, every one of them would be ambulatory if they had not retired and sat in that chair and watched TV.
Oh.
And I was like, whoa. And he said, do you want to know the secret and of aging? And I was like, what do you know, right?
Yeah.
It's like, because I'm a young buck,
Yeah.
right? And I said, well,
You're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't care yet.
Yeah, really, I'm 26. I'm not. It's like I didn't even have a TV, right? It's like, and he's like, keep moving mentally and physically.
Mm-hmm.
He said it's that simple. Mm-hmm. And so when I think of retirement, retiring from what would be a normal job, but I love what I do.
Yes.
And I think that's 90% of it. I didn't know that I could get into radio. I was a pastor,
Mm-hmm.
and I ended up getting invited on a radio program,
Mm-hmm.
and it just changed everything. So retirement, when that happened, because I didn't have any retirement,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and so it was like, well, if I got to work,
Mm-hmm.
I want to do something I like to do.
Absolutely.
And I found out I like this.
Yes.
And so it's like, well, that worked out. You know,
Yeah,
it's like,
and that's the thing, when you love what you do, why pull the plug? I mean, honestly, I love what I do so much that we keep saying, you know, we have this plan, like this exit strategy, right? But that seems to be getting kicked down the road every time we talk about it, because I just can't see myself retiring. I said, well, maybe we'll keep a place here and I'll come back every month and meet with my clients and do the work remotely or whatever in the case. Maybe I can move back here and run political campaigns. I can move back here. I mean, like, live here the 2 months before the Peach Festival and get everything planned. So maybe it's something like that where I'm not sure, it might be a hybrid situation.
well, you have to just kind of be open for whatever life's going to,
Yeah.
you know, send your way. And so, listen, I'm really glad that you agreed. I kind of last minute asked you to come in, and it was like I just feel like my goal really and my purpose is for people to see people, for the community to get an opportunity to see people outside of the box we put them in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I did that with 93Q Radio, like with law enforcement. The media was saying this, and I was like, you don't even know them.
Mm-hmm.
These guys, you see the uniform, but they could be your kid's baseball coach, right?
Absolutely.
And so I feel that way, Kary, about business. It's like, well, you know, who really knows that Kary was a country girl driving a little blue Love pickup in shorts and cowboy boots. She set a style there, right? And it's like, I think that's important to the community, that they respect us for what they do. You know, I want people to respect Saphire marketing, but I really like them to know the wheels that turn behind the marketing. Like I know Dennis, right? But they may not know Dennis, and you know, they say, well, I'll just get my signs made. Mm-hmm. And so that's why this in the tank. Mm-hmm. We're going deep.
Yes,
we're scuba diving. Put the tank.
I love that because I love hearing the stories behind the people.
Oh,
what built that person into who they are today?
Yeah. So, folks, I just want you to know, no, I'm disappointed. She wasn't a cheerleader or the homecoming queen. All the things I thought about Kary were not true. Instead, the real Kary was a smart, looking down the road, you know, kind of girl that wasn't afraid to buck hay, to clean stalls and feed animals. You amaze me.
Oh,
right?
Thank you.
And now, you know, here you are working in the community at just like the events that you do, the helping people help their business grow and go.
It's so important.
And so
important.
I think it is. Well, thanks for coming in.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
Yes.
It's been fun. I thought I knew Kary. Now I really know her. I can talk about her now. And say, I know this girl. Dennis, if I were you, I would find an old Chevy Love pickup. I'd put her in it. Paint it powder blue, though. Hey, listen, thanks so much for watching, and we just appreciate it. Oh, one last thing. I forgot. Kary gets a cup because she was in the tank
Thank
with fish.
you. Oh, thank you so much. I will praise it. It'll sit on my desk.
People go, some people go, I want to go in the tank. They've said, hey, I'd like to go in the tank. Other people like, I'm not going in the tank.
Oh, don't be afraid.
Yeah, don't be afraid. It's not bad. The water's fine. Come in. The water's fine. Listen, if you have somebody that you'd like to see get in the tank, you can email me at fish, F-I-S-H, at 93qradio.com. And if you just, you can leave a comment on this when you watch it. But again, my goal is to help us know each other better in our incredible community we live in. 93Q Radio was an opportunity for what's called an LPFM to give the community a voice.
The big part of what's happening here is it's us. It's the community of us.
The work that Mr. Fischetti has done with us to promote public education has been absolutely groundbreaking.
They have the pulse of our community from the nonprofits to the local governments. If you want to find out what's happening in our community, get on board with 93Q.
And 93Q does so much to help our community, helps us promote our local events, as well as local businesses, and tell our story about what we do here in Yuba Sutter.
The folks that work here, they're part of our community, so they understand our needs, and that's important.
Local radio is so important during times of emergency. They're there. We lean on them to provide information to our public.
My wife and I are glad to support 93Q. We're going to do it on a monthly basis, but I really recommend that if you want to make your community better, this is a great place to take a first step right here.
So if you can, reach deep into your pocket and give to 93Q.
93Q is a great partner for law enforcement, and they're a great partner for the Yuba Sutter area.
We're really asking people if you can give $10, $15, $20 a month, and then that enables us to continue to put small business spots on the air, nonprofits, organizations that are they're using every dollar they got just to operate, and they don't have extra money to spend on really promoting their cause. And that is why community radio, to me, I'm grateful to be part of it, and that's why it's important. Hey, listen, we want you to stay tuned to In the Tank with Fish and Kelly. Again, Kelly wasn't here, but you'd love her if you saw her. I do. I think I appreciate her so much because she adds that part that I don't have. It's that simple. And so, again, just want to invite you to continue to watch. You can see all these on 93Q TV, and you can go back and see past episodes and really get to know your community person by person.